Do I have a June TBR? Yes, I do. Do I plan on reading that June TBR? Yes, I will. Do I plan on reading it right now? No, ma'am. No, mas. No, I won't. I actually plan on maybe reading a sports romance. I, first and foremost, am not really a romance reader. Edits, recommendations, I have now become obsessed. A lot of these are also very white, so I'm trying to see if I can find ones with a more diverse cast of characters. Hello, book besties. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Lainey. Thank you for stopping by my little corner of the internet. I, first and foremost, am not really a romance reader. I love watching romance, TV shows, and movies. Romance is definitely my least read genre. If I'm reading anything with romance in it, it's sprinkled in with another genre that's mainly like fantasy, mystery, thriller, but not heavy and solely on the romance. However, I watched Off Campus last week. It was okay, but the edits, the recommendations, I have now become obsessed, and I'm about to go ahead and rewatch it. And I thought, hey, crazy thought, go ahead and read a romance. Me reading a romance. I fear. Off Campus has become my loyal drug. You have to read a sports romance. Now, I was originally planning on continuing the off-campus series by reading the next book or skipping ahead and reading book 3 because that's what season 2 is going to focus on. They're not doing it in order of the books. However, I do really like off-campus and I know for a fact that I'm going to continue the series. So I thought while I'm in this kind of mood, because this is very rare, this actually is just never happens, I thought let me get into a different series instead. So I know there are like a lot of popular sports romance out there. Like I said, I'm gonna just focus on the hockey romances just because Off Campus is on my mind. But if something else sticks out to me in terms of like basketball, lacrosse, I don't even know, I'll look into that instead. So many options. I'm gonna put Off Campus on, I'm gonna figure it out, and then you'll find out what my first sports romance read is. And I think we're just gonna do this for a week. Whether or not I finish the book, this is just my way to get into that world, the romance world in general, and specifically the sports romance world in general, maybe even more specifically, hockey romance. We'll see. I'm actually so surprised I'm about to rewatch Off Campus like a week after I watched it. Like, I don't do that. I rewatch like fantasy stuff, supernatural stuff, you know, your Teen Wolf, your Vampire Diaries. I rewatch, oh, Spider Noir's out. Oh, they dropped the whole thing? I thought it was gonna be a weekly release. Interesting. Superhero stuff, like those are the stuff I rewatch. Animes. So I went onto TikTok for some suggestions. So I know about the Windy City series, Mile High. I know about that. I know about the Boys of Tommen series, and I know about the Icebreaker series. 2 years ago, I did try to read Icebreaker. Was not my cup of tea for a multitude of reasons, but also because I'm just not a spice person. But back in December for book club, I read Sweet Heat, and that had like a little something to it. It wasn't like intense. So I think having something that is a little bit more like, I think I'm okay now. In the past, I would have been like, no, I need like, what do you call it? Closed door or something like that? Like a fade to black type thing in terms of the spice. But I think because I read Sweet Heat and it had a little something in it, a little spice in it, it wasn't too intense. I think I'm okay with something along that line. I see Pucking Wrong. That's a possibility. DC's Star series. I've seen the covers for Face Off and Hat Trick. That's also another possibility. A lot of these are also very white. So I'm trying to see if I can find ones with a more diverse cast of characters or made by a person of color author. So we have Off the Ice. That's Collide, Spiral, Revolve, and Embrace. I've never seen that cover before. I don't think so. We might do the Off the Ice series because these characters are not all white. A lot of these covers also just really look the same. My way, no rush, take time. Late night talk, no need for line. My way, no rush, I'm already set on reading the Off the Ice series, and I just searched up that it's a 4 out of 5 on the spicy scale. Like I said, I'm not here to finish any of the books this week because I'm delving into something new. To the girls who love hockey, especially when it's written in English. We threw our bags into the backseat. Windows down on the avenue.
sparks in summer thunder. Heartbeat keeping time.
Oh, it's the next day. My keychain on my books Go Color 7 broke. It was like one long loop, and I was just gonna repair it with like a smaller lobster claw, but I was like, okay, this is not the first time these keychains have broke. I had the old one that I used to have on my e-reader. I put it on my bag, and I made a new one for my e-reader, you know, because like seasons change, different month, fresh new look, and the one on my bag had broke as well, and so I no longer have it on my bag anymore. I only keep my like my charms and stuff. These are the two that I have on my phone case, but I keep my charms on my bags because these like snap a little too easily. So I thought, you know what, instead of replacing it with a clasp, I thought we would make a new one entirely. So I have like this like rainbow string, and I'm gonna clasp it on one end. We're gonna make it, and then before it gets too close to the other end, I'm going to tie it as if it was a bracelet, put it onto another big clasp here, and then hook it up there, so there'll be a loop to it. And I think for the colors, I've never done yellow, so I think we're gonna do yellow for the colors. Okay. Oh, and I decided that while I do this, I was gonna give a little update. So I'm on page 120 of the book. I read up to page like, you know, 80 something last night, and then it hit 12 in the morning, and I was watching this like new Apple TV show, and I couldn't go to bed. I was like, you know what, let me stay up a little longer. So while I was finishing that episode, I had like a good 20 or so minutes of it. I went ahead and continued reading. And I got to 120, like 12:30-ish or something. Right, so I would say fairly early on, I went online. It kind of differs how long this book is. I see at the low end 385, on the higher end 415. So I put mine's, like my zoom and everything, my font size or whatever, on where it has a page count at 415, because that's like not too small of a text, but not like too zoomed in, because I feel like when I have the text be too zoomed in, I'm swiping a lot, like obviously swiping a lot longer to just reach the end of the chapter, and I don't like that. Especially since these chapters are already fairly short, like 8 pages, 11 pages. If they were zoomed in, it would be a lot longer, like more swiping than necessary. So I would say fairly early on, you see kind of like the guy, I would say the guy, even though like, so it's dual POV. You have two characters, Aiden and Summer. Summer is a sports psychology major, and there's like this really huge thing happening where if she gets into it, like what she's applying for, it will be a really big deal for her. Her, like, I'm assuming like advisor or the person who has to like sign off on the fact that like she can do this thing had basically informed her like, this is the route you should go with, and like if you want this to be like great and you're actually serious about this. So she has to write this paper on hockey players, and she has a very difficult past when it comes to hockey players, because of her dad. He was a hockey player, now he's coaching or something like that. So she has a difficult history when it comes to hockey players. And Aiden and like his hockey housemates, they, you know, throw parties and things like that. And there was a really, really bad night after a game. And so because of that, Aiden took the blame for the party. And because he was already on a little bit of a rocky ground, because he was missing like commitments as the captain, his coach basically said like, you have to like be the subject of Summer's, you know, thing, her paper, her research, and you're basically like on probation in regards to that. So they both didn't really like that they had to do this. One, Aiden doesn't want to be anyone's research experiment, and Summer is just not a fan of hockey players because of her dad. So they both didn't want to do this, but eventually like XYZ, they're doing it. This is what's happening in their relationship forms from there. I would say, like, yeah, they kind of had, I would say, more on Summer's part than Aiden. She had more of a dislike towards Aiden, just for the fact, the generalization of the fact that he's a hockey player. But like, they both didn't really like each other in the beginning, but it wasn't like a real, it wasn't really like a too much of a hated thing. I guess you can label it as enemies to lovers, but I don't know. I don't feel like it was like intense as like what you would probably think about with enemies to lovers. It was just like dislikes, but I would say like they got over that, or they got comfortable with each other very fairly quickly. I would say around like the 50-60 page mark, you already see Aiden like kind of like through his POV, because it's dual POV, you see him kind of like displaying or like thinking about Summer in a, you know, like in a slight romantic way. Some of it is a little bit lustful in terms of like staring at her butt and things like that, but other times it's more like you could see that caring side of him. Like when she runs at night, he decides, even though like he's sore and stuff like that, and he just came from practice and XYZ, he decides that he's gonna go ahead and run with her because, you know, he doesn't want her to be running late at night by herself. But like she does all the time. Like she talks about like how she stopped to make sure she had like her pepper spray and her keys and all that stuff like that. When she kind of talks to him about this one guy who's also going for the same position that she's going for, but how he has all these like notes for her in regards to that. It backfired, but he tries to confront that guy to basically be like, yo, like, leave Summer alone. Like, she doesn't need you, like, your comments. You're adding on to her stress and like, things like that. So I'll say more on his part than hers. You can see like some sort of thing forming romantically on his part through like his thoughts. But they just had a party and she was like drunk, and he had said something. I can't remember what the question was, but the way that she answered it would imply on her end that she was also having some sort of feelings for him as well. So that's where we're currently at the book. This is what I got so far. I was gonna just do them as like one, like it was 2 strings, but I was gonna like put them through both strings. Like this first one is through both, but I decided that like instead of making 2 separate ones, when it loops, it would be, oh my gosh, I don't want this to fall, but when it loops, it would have as 2 separate strings. So that's what we're gonna do. That's my baby. Hello. It has been a couple months. I have finished Collide a couple months ago, and I'm now getting to this, but I want to talk about my thoughts on the book, my ratings, all that such. With Collide, I rated it a 4 star. I think I was aiming like for a 3.75, maybe a 3.90, but I think there were like little small stuff that upped my enjoyability of the book, and also the fact that like it was a really, it was a page turner. I read it in like 2 or 3 days. So I bumped it up to a 4. So I already explained the beginning part of the book. You know, there's forced proximity given that Summer and Aiden are forced to kind of pair up together. And I guess you can say enemies to lovers. On Summer's part, she has a very big disdain for hockey players, and that stems from her dad. He was an NHL player, and the way that her childhood and the way that she grew up and the way that she was raised, particularly with her father in her life, there's a bit of like neglect and abandonment. So she kind of generalizes all hockey players because of like her relationship with her dad. Her dad has a good relationship with her younger siblings, but not really with her. And throughout the book, when there are moments of like him reaching out to her, she actively pushes him away. And all of that, I guess that disappointment and just kind of that attachment, that fear of attachment, is brought to how her relationship with Aiden is. Aiden falls for Summer first. It's a little physical in terms of like thinking and complimenting mainly in his head through thoughts, but like on her body and stuff. And then it becomes a little bit more. You can easily see like how good of a character he is, how caring he is, how protective he is in those small moments. And then you can see like, oh my God, Aiden really truly cares for her. But Summer really puts her walls up, and it takes a long time for her to kind of like accept Aiden and realize that obviously, one, he's not her father, and 2, you know, just like realize like how good of a person he is. And you know, eventually, like, not all NHL players are basically the same. I love their banter in the book. Like I said, I really like how caring and protective Aiden is. Like, those little small moments really made the book a little bit more worthwhile for me. On Summer's part, there, like, she has this kind of like academic rival, who was her ex as well, and there's like this whole plot of her like finding something out because they're both kind of gunning for the same position, and then they both have like the same like advisor and stuff like that. And yeah, there was like this whole thing with it. I think that the way that was handled kind of seems a little bit outlandish to me. I feel like if I was in that situation, the way that it was handled and went about, that's not the way that I would feel like in the real world you would do. But I don't think it was particularly like such a negative point that I will like deduct points off or deduct, you know, whatever further rating and stuff. I bookmarked and highlighted a lot of stuff in this book, especially when it came to like Aiden's thoughts when it came to Summer. It had me giggling a lot and just like kicking my feet, and so I just want to read some of that to you. There's something about her voice that makes me itch to hear it. I haven't talked to you all day. I'm thinking this punishment is a bit cruel. I whisper against her ear. She shifts to look at me. Now talking to me is punishment, the worst kind. And that was his reply. As soon as I smell her sweet scent, I hold her tighter. She's close enough that something is happening to my chest. The sensation is so unsettling that I let her balance. And these are kind of like the moments that are a little bit like physical in terms of like that physical attraction, like her voice, her smell. Like, no, he says, "You think I'm a distraction." She says, it's not the insult you think it is, Aiden. She sits on her mattress, defeated. I don't want either of us losing focus or shifting priorities. He says, priorities change. She says, what are you saying? He says this through his thoughts, that I'm falling for you. But then out loud, he says that I can focus on hockey and you. Like, we slowly move away from him just talking about like her physical features, and then, you know, talking about like what she makes him feel like, and like how he wants to like be around her and stuff. But when I tell you that man fell for her and fell first and fell harder, it's just like those little stuff I'm just kind of like so yeah, I did like Collide. I heard the second book is a lot better compared to the first one. But yeah, that's Collide, and that's my rating and review.
Kettle hums in the other room, morning bends across the floor.
Well, hello there. So after I finished Collide, and I knew that people were saying that the second book is a lot better, I was like, okay, I have to go ahead and read the second book now. So I started Spiral, I think the night or the day that I finished Collide. So I'm currently 28% of Spiral. I have not read it since. I was in a little bit of a summer reading slump. So I'm on page 104 out of 374 on chapter 13, 28% of the way through. All right, so when it comes to Spiral, it is a little different in terms of like setup, right? So you have, oh my god, what is the character's name? Elias is the guy, and then the girl is Sage. So Sage is a ballerina, Elias is a professional hockey player. The public already has a particular perception about them, and they kind of fake date to basically like change that narrative and help themselves out a little bit. So Elias is having trouble with his hockey career, and he's not really having great publicity. So fake dating is kind of changing the public's perception of him. And then Sage is a ballerina. She wants to perform professionally, but her lack of like social media presence, her lack of like public presence overall is negatively affecting her with like booking roles and stuff like that. But dating, you know, this professional hockey player will end up being really good for her career. So them fake dating is helping each other out. They meet through like a charity event, I believe, and from what I remember, I believe it was Sage's idea to do the fake dating in the first place, and then Elias was against it, and then like she kind of moved on a little bit, and then he was like, actually wait, no, this is actually a good idea. And so he basically like chases her and then admits that like he was kind of wrong, and then they should actually fake date, and then that's what happens. Honestly, that's all I have for Spiral. I think I'm gonna end it here though, because my original thing was I didn't really technically need to finish any of the books that I originally read during that week. I just wanted to like dive my feet in and read, and obviously I'm gonna pick up Spiral because I'm out of that little summer reading slump. Yesterday I continued Legendborn, and I'm on part 3 of that book now. But so yeah, anyways, all I have to say is I am going to continue Spiral. I'm not going to continue it for this video because I did get my feet a little bit wet. I completed a whole book, which was Collide, and I'm still very interested in the series as a whole. So like I said, I will continue Spiral on the side. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I'm a romance TV watcher, movie watcher. I didn't mention it, but I'm a romance manga reader, webtoon, webcomics, whatever. I'm not like a typical regular book romance reader, but I really did like my experience with this, so I am going to continue Spiral, not for this video. I am filming a reading vlog this week because I'm out of work now, and I'm trying to slowly get out of a reading slump, and so Legendborn has really helped me out with that. And so I'm going to continue Spiral, because talking about these 2 books so I can just quickly get this video out has kind of re-sparked that enjoyability that I had for this series. So I will continue that, and then I think as a broader sense I will dive into and continue reading romance, maybe not particularly sports romance. I'll try like a different type of romance, I don't know. But anyways, all that to say is I like this video. I'm happy that I did it, and thank you for watching. I will see you in another video. Let me know your thoughts on Collide and then Spiral. I have high expectations that I'm gonna love Spiral, given that everyone praises the second book over the first, and I like the first. So anyways, with that said, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in another video. Talk to you later. Bye.